Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm doing a collection tour of my Penguin Modern Classics. I have quite a big collection now of the most recent printings, which are the teal spines, and then I have a few of the older editions which have a white spine, and then I have a bunch of these little mini moderns which I'm not going to go into any detail on. I'm just going to show you which ones I have quickly. I used to have more of these, but I gave a few of them away to like friends and stuff. And I actually recently done a video where I reviewed 5 of these, so if you would like to check that out after this video, it will be linked in the description. I'll also in the description have a link to my collection tour of my Penguin Classics, which is my biggest collection, and a collection tour of my SF Masterworks, which are basically science fiction classics, and I have quite a lot of those as well. So if you enjoy this collection tour, go and check out the other ones, which will be in the description. I'm going to start off by just quickly running through the ones of these that I still own, and then we'll go on to the few older ones I have and then the most recent ones. So if you enjoy this video, please definitely leave a like and subscribe if you're not already, which I feel like most people are, but if you're not, hit the subscribe button, not the thumbs up, the subscribe, and I'm just going to get started. If I pronounce any of these authors' names wrong, I apologise in advance, but really quickly I'm just going to go through my Penguin Modern mini classics. So these are the 4 I haven't read yet. I have The Legend of the Sleepers by Danilo Keys. I have The Garden of Forking Pass by Jorge Luis Borges. I have Africa's Tarnished Name by Chinua Achebe. And I have The Missing Girl by Shirley Jackson. I haven't read those yet. Don't know if they're essays or short stories or poetry. They could be anything at all. I'm not sure. So the ones I have read, I'm just going to go really quickly. I've already filmed this, but I spoke about them for way too long, which is not my intention with these. I have The Distance of the Moon by Italo Calvino. This was 3 short stories and I didn't really like them. I don't get on with his writing style. Madame de Fawn and the Idiots by Javier Marias was a collection of 5 biographies. There was Madame de Fawn, Oscar Wilde, Emily Bronte, Vladimir Nabokov, and someone else whose name is slipping my mind right now, and I thought biographies were going to be boring, but they were actually really cool. The Dialogue of Two Snails by Federico Garcia Lorca is a poetry collection, which I really enjoyed actually. I want to look up more of his poetry. Daydream and Drunkenness of a Young Lady by Clarice Lispector is 3 short stories, which I enjoyed them as short stories, but what I spoke about in my video, these 4 and the next one were all spoken about in much longer length in my last video. I enjoyed it as a short story, but I was like, I don't know if I'd like her writing style as an actual full novel, so that's something to think about anyway for the future. And then this one, sorry, that was only 4. I also read Fame by Andy Warhol, but I no longer have that one. I gave it to my friend. I have More Souls Than One by Fernando Pessoa. It was his poetry collection, and they were all written in like really different like styles and formats and stuff, and I just thought they were really interesting actually. I quite enjoyed it. Investigations of a Dog by Franz Kafka is a short story which I have no recollection of, so it did not leave an impact on me clearly. The Breakthrough by Daphne du Maurier is a science fiction short story, and I love Daphne du Maurier. Didn't love this, to be honest. I thought it was okay for a short story. I thought it was fine, but I just don't love short stories, to be honest. Lance by Vladimir Nabokov is 3 short stories, and I think, if I remember correctly, I liked them all in terms of like the wordplay and just like the way he uses English language, which I think like he does so well. But again, as short stories, they were okay. Like the actual stories themselves didn't blow me away or anything like that. 3 Japanese short stories by this author and others. It's 3 different authors as a collection of 3 short stories, and I think I enjoyed them all decently, but to be honest, no, don't really remember. Of Dogs and Walls by Yuko Tsushima, sorry, probably ruined that pronunciation, as 2 short stories, and again, I just don't really remember them. Like short stories just, they don't do anything for me. The Master's Tools Will Never Dismantle the Master's House by Audre Lorde is a collection of essays and speeches by Audre Lorde, and they are all about racism and feminism and other social issues, and I really enjoyed it actually. I think that she is an amazing author and would highly recommend this one. And then finally, Dark Days by James Baldwin is a collection of 3 essays, I believe, or speeches. I think it was just essays, and they're mostly about racism in America and, you know, his experience with that. And I really enjoyed that. I think that his voice is so powerful, and the way that he communicates that through his words is like top notch. So next I'm going to quickly talk about my 3 white spine Penguin Modern Classics. They no longer make these editions. They are all getting reprinted in these blue/teal editions, and I actually prefer those. I think it's a really nice colour. But anyway, These four, I have Italo Calvino, Why Read the Classics, and this is a non-fiction all about different classic literature books, and I spoke about it quite a lot in my Classics IDNF video because I tried to read like one chapter of this and I was like, I don't know any of these books. Like, I think in the future, if I have read one of the books he talks about, I will then go and then read his thoughts on it and like his essay on it, but in terms of actually sitting down and like reading this book, that's never gonna happen. Like, it's just not what I was expecting, to be honest. A Clergyman's Daughter by George Orwell. I haven't even attempted to read this one yet, but it is about a girl who goes from being very poor to very rich, but she can't remember who, like, her own name or who she is, and it's all about social issues and poverty and unemployment and stuff like that. And I think it sounds interesting, but I've just never really been motivated to pick it up. It's kind of thick, but I've never read anything by George Orwell other than 1984, so I probably should give it a chance. The Crucible by Arthur Miller. This copy is beat up. It's like all sellotaped and stuff. I think it was like from an old school or something. I have no idea. But anyway, this is a play and it is about the Salem witch trials, but it is also an allegory for the Red Scare and McCarthyism in America, and I really love it. I read it in school when I was like 16, and I reread it, out of school just to see if I still liked it, because I remember actually really liking it at school, and it held up. I still really enjoyed it, so definitely recommend this one. If you're looking for like a play to get into, if you've never really read plays, I think this is a really good one to start with. I mean, like I said, we read it in school when we were like 15, 16, so it is pretty accessible, and it's really interesting, and it has like a lot you can like look into the background and stuff of. Finally, the book I'm reading right now, I want to finish it tonight, but I don't know if that's realistically going to happen. It's taking me a while to read, and that's On the Road by Jack Kerouac. I was really hesitant about reading this because I just didn't think I was going to like it. And everything about it, like obviously I'll talk about it more in my wrap up at the end of this month, so subscribe for that if you're not already. But yeah, everything about this book is something that I should not like. It's so meandering, there's not really any plot, it just goes like from location to location, these characters just messing around, like no character growth. But for some reason it has like such a charm to it that I am really enjoying it. But it's taken me a while to get through. It's only 270 pages or 280, and I've been reading it for a while, so it's a slower one, but definitely one that I think is worth reading if you're interested in it, because it might surprise you. So the first books I'm going to talk about from my Blue Spine Penguin Classics, or Teal Spine, whatever you want to say, are the ones I have read. So first of all, we'll talk about Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov. This is one of my favourite books of all time. I've read it 3 times, and the writing in it is just so beautiful, and the story is so dark. It is about a man who is a P-word who abducts a 13-year-old girl, and he thinks that he's in love with her. He thinks that she's in love with him, but in reality, obviously, it is all about child abuse and exploitation and just horrible crimes, and so many people misconstrue what this book is about. So many people misinterpret it. It is written from the perspective of the man, and he's basically trying to convince you that what he done is all right. And because of this, and because of like the way it's written, so many people don't understand that it is against child abuse. Like, I don't know. I can understand why they might not be able to get it, but like, use your brain. But anyway, it's just so beautiful, and if you can read topics like that, I would highly recommend reading Lolita. Like, it's so beautiful. Like, these are all tabs of like some of my favourite quotes. It's just iconic, and the first time I read it, like when I was younger, I was one of those people, like obviously when I was younger, I kind of like idolized the relationship, because when you're younger, you're like, okay, this like older man is like taking care of her and all this. Like she, like, oh, they're in love, and then you read it as an adult and you're like, oh my god, this is disgusting. It's like so scary. Like, it honestly feels more like a horror book. Like when I was younger, so many people put this as like a romance book, but it's not. To me now, it's like a horror book, and yeah, just cannot recommend that enough. Could talk about it forever. Like, it's such an interesting story. Yeah, so moving on, I have Confessions of the Mask by Yukio Mishima, and he is a Japanese author. This was written in the 1940s, and it is about a young boy who realizes he's gay, and then he grows up and he tries to be in a relationship with a woman, and he does love her, but then also like he is gay, and it's like a whole internal struggle, and a lot of it is autobiographical. I think the childhood of the main character lines up pretty well with the childhood of the author and like a biography, sorry. But then the adult life of the main character, I don't think is the same as the adult life of the author, because the author was married and did have children, and like his sexuality is like disputed. Like his wife tries to say that he was not gay or bi at all, but I don't know. It's really interesting, and I just read it this month, so I'll talk about it more in my wrap up for the end of this month. and I also will talk about it in my LGBT Classics episode 4. If you want to subscribe, that'll be out at some point. I don't know when. I kind of fell off the track with making those videos. But anyway, moving on. The Man in the High Castle by Philip K. Dick. I don't even want to talk about this book because I hated it. It's like an alternate reality where Japan and Nazi Germany won World War II, and we are in America, but America is like taken over by the Germans and stuff. And I read it a few years ago. Maybe I would like it more on a reread, but honestly, like, I just didn't like it. And this copy is really beat up. Like, it's very yellow, like where the rest of my books are all white, because I think my dad found it secondhand somewhere. And the only reason it's even in like my collection is just because it's like another one of these books with this like edition, and I like building up collections of books. What can I say? Next, I'm going to talk about my... Okay, I have 4 James Baldwin books left. So I'm going to talk about the one that I don't remember that much about, and that is If Beale Street Could Talk. This one is about a girl who is like going to be a teen mom, and the baby's father, who I don't think they're married, he's been accused of rape by another woman, and it's all about like the families like trying to prove his innocence. And I think it deals with like the prison system in America, and you know, racism in the prison systems and stuff like that. But honestly, I don't remember much about it. It didn't leave that much of an impact on me, and yeah, I just don't really have much to say about this one. This one is my least favourite James Baldwin, and it is Go Tell It on the Mountain. And this one is quite autobiographical. It is about our main character growing up in the church, and his father is a minister slash priest. I think it's priest. And, you know, he's trying to like get his son to be more involved in the church, and his son isn't really open to it. But then that's also not really what it's about, because it goes into a lot of backstory about like the father and the mother and the mother's sister, and it like jumps around like timelines quite a lot and perspectives and stuff, but also doesn't tell you it's jumping. So it's really disorientating to read, and you kind of have to like use your own clues. Like, it doesn't hold your hand at all. You have to like hold your own hand and use like clues to kind of work out what perspective you're in and what time and stuff. And honestly, I just didn't really like it. I don't like jumping around in time, and I just think that the actual contents of the book is like not what's on the back. So like the main character, who is supposed to be James Baldwin, like, we don't actually spend that much time with him. It's mostly about his family's backstory. Another Country by James Baldwin is one I did really enjoy. It's a thicker one, and it is following a man, and it deals a lot with like racism, but then also sexuality and relationships between white people and black people in terms of romantic relationships and also friendships. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very well written. I thought the characters were all super interesting, and like the struggles that they go through. You know, it didn't feel like he's like trying to push this message. He's just like, this is life for African Americans or Black Americans at the time. And then also, you know, obviously a lot of these messages still continue on to today, sadly. And I thought it was just like really well written. Now, my favourite James Baldwin book, and my favourite book of 2020, is Giovanni's Room. And this is about 2 men, one of whom is openly bisexual, and the other one is kind of struggling to come to terms with his sexuality. He has a fiancée who is a woman, but she's off travelling, and he is in Italy, where he meets Giovanni, and they form this very tumultuous, not very nice relationship. And I just thought it was like so captivating and like also relatable in some ways. You know, if you are someone that's like struggled with your sexuality at any point, I think a lot of the messages that are in this book will resonate with you. Like some of the things the main character does to Giovanni, his name's David, like they're so nasty, but then it's also because he's like lashing out because he's insecure about like who he is, and it's just like very interesting. So highly recommend this one, and I definitely want to reread it soon. So I have 6 books I have not read yet, so please excuse my either wrong descriptions of what they are or just bad descriptions, because I don't really like to go too much in depth and like knowing stuff about books before I read them. I kind of just like to jump into them, you know. I think they sound interesting from like a general synopsis or something, and then I add them to my list of books I want to read, and then, you know, 6 months later I buy them and I forgot what I read about them, but I know that I want to read them. You know, that's kind of like how I jump into books. So please excuse if I am wrong or just dumb about when it is about. But Tell Me How Long the Train's Been Going by James Baldwin. I can't believe I've not got this one yet, but it's about an actor who has a heart attack, and then as he's like kind of either on his deathbed or like balancing between life and death, you know, because of this heart attack, reflects on his life and, you know, what he's done to become a successful actor. And it also talks about you know, racism and society being on the brink of a race war, and that's pretty much all I know from the back of the book. So I really want to get that one soon. I really just want to read all of James Baldwin's work, especially his fiction, and yeah, that's probably, I mean, that is the next step. So this one, Other Voices, Other Rooms by Truman Capote. This was another one that I'm reading for an LGBT classics video for the 1940s, and it is about a 13-year-old who goes to live with his aunt and cousin in like a deep south state, and like a southern mansion, and it talks about gothic landscapes and hallucinatory power vividly conjuring up the gothic landscape. And so that sounds to me like it will be, you know, Wuthering Heights vibes, Rebecca vibes, what else, Mexican gothic, you know. So this one I really want to get to soon. Hopefully this month I will get to this one, but yeah, don't know much else about it. But I know that Truman Capote was like a very famous gay, or maybe bisexual, author of, you know, the time. And I think that if you look into like biographies and stuff of other like gay artists or authors and things, Truman Capote is always mentioned somewhere. Like he was a very big socialite, like he was very out there. So that one will be interesting. Next we have Junkie by William S. Burroughs, and he actually, I found out, was friends with Jack Kerouac, and they are part of the Beat generation. I knew that about Jack Kerouac, but I didn't realise that William S. Burroughs was involved in that whole group and movement. And this is about, well, this is also semi-autobiographical, and it is about our main character dealing with drug addiction and, you know, the life of someone who is addicted to drugs. And I just think that sounds so interesting, and that's all I know, really. Pale Fire by Vladimir Nabokov. I don't know what this is about. It confuses me so much. Basically, the back of the book says it's something about a poet dies, and then his last ever poem, the editor starts to like really get invested in it and like edit it and like put his own life into it and stuff like that. And that doesn't make any sense to me in terms of a synopsis, but I think that it is intriguing and I really want to know more. So that is what Pale Fire is maybe about. And then finally, I have two John Steinbeck books. I have Of Mice and Men and The Grapes of Wrath. And I'm going to be honest, okay? I loved East of Eden, and I really want to read both of these. Like, I'm really excited to read them. But the synopsis of both of these is so similar. Both of them talk about families in California who are poor and are trying to make their fortune. Like, I swear, both of the synopsises are like so similar. So I don't know which one. Actually, I'm going to start with this one because it's shorter. But yeah, I just think it's so interesting, like that's kind of like his niche, is like poor Californian families. But yeah, I just really want to read both of these because I loved East of Eden so much, and that was 2019. So you know, it's been 2 years almost since I read it. So I really need to get on to more John Steinbeck. So here's all of my main books. I'm not picking up those little ones, obviously. But this is my collection of Penguin Modern Classics. Obviously, not the biggest collection in the world, and my arm is twitching because I just done arm at the gym today. Arms. But yeah, this is my collection. And, you know, I just love, like, the colour. I love how they have really good introductions. I love the covers, actually. The covers are actually really interesting because although they're not obviously all, you know, consistent across all the different authors, some of them, for example, like the James Baldwin ones, all look like this. Like, they all have this kind of, like, paper cutout type vibe, which I think is really interesting. And what other ones? I love this one for Confessions of the Mask. It's a picture of the author from this like kind of semi-famous or infamous photo shoot he'd done, which were all like really, you know, like sexually suggestive images, and they're all very homoerotic. And I just think it's like really captivating. I know a lot of people don't love like real people on book covers, but I think that this, for example, just there's something captivating about it. Where is the other? Yeah, all of the Vladimir Nabokov books all have like this kind of painting. I wonder if they're by the same painter. Let's see. They're from Meredith Frampton. Yeah, I think all of his covers are by this painter or artist, Meredith Frampton. So that's interesting. And yeah, I just think that they do a really good job, you know, putting these together. The introductions, the notes in some of them, the covers, everything about it. I just really love. So hopefully you enjoyed this collection. I know it was kind of all over the place. I'm really struggling to like make videos recently. Like, I'm just like this in like personal life and my online life. Everything is just a bit crazy right now in my head. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know which of these you read or which of these you think sounds rubbish or whatever you want. Any comment at all, let me know. and I will see you in my next video.